All right, so I think I'm going to go ahead and get started. Um, like I said, just to give a quick introduction, my name is Bill Kuehler. I am actually a co-founder of a company called Resource Hero. We're an ISV partner. I'm also a veteran. I was in the Army National Guard for about 10 years, 11 years, something like that. And I'm also obviously working in the Salesforce space and ecosystem here. So what we do here every Friday afternoon at 12 p.m. Eastern, I host office hours. And the main goal of this call, typically we don't have a set agenda. We don't have, a presentation every week that's going to take up the entire hour. Really, what this call is meant to be is a resource for you as you're going through your Salesforce journey and, learning new features, functionality, trying to get your certifications. If you have any kind of questions, technical issues, you're stuck on a trailhead badge, you have an issue at work and you just want to, a couple extra pair of eyes to take a look at it to see if we can help. That's really what this is, an open forum to ask questions. In addition to that, we've also added a couple other kind of, sessions that we'll try to, flake in here as we go on. We have workshop type sessions where we'll actually put, a presentation together that we'll all walk through together. So I'll be presenting, or a Salesforce MVP or somebody else will be presenting, and everybody is following along in your own trailhead playground. So kind of hands-on learning, ask questions as we go type sessions. In addition to that, we also are inviting various App Exchange partners to come in and present, a common issue or a common use case that new admins or developers might face, and then how their application might help actually address that use case. So in the next couple of weeks here, actually next Friday, we're going to have Matt Kennedy from Own Backup coming in to speak to the kind of backup and restore use case for admins and how their product addresses that. And then on the 29th, we have Alex Medrano coming in from TaskRay to talk through that customer onboarding project management use case and how TaskRay can help address that. Beyond that, we also have a couple other MVPs that are coming in to do sessions on various automation and formula fields and reporting. So a lot of great stuff coming up the next couple of weeks. But with that said, like I said, for today, open session, I don't have anything planned except for one question that came up that we can address if nobody else has questions, but I'll open it up here. So does anybody have any questions or issues or anything else that they wanted to walk through today?
Hi, Bill. I had a question.
Sure.
So I work as a Salesforce admin for an antivirus software company, and one of the tasks that I've been assigned since I'm working my role is documentation. And basically, we're still in that startup phase, but trying to build out to where eventually you can go to our website, and if you ask a question, a chatbot enters, and people can have their question answered faster. And so, we're getting bombarded with we have a lot of cases, and getting bombarded with a lot of questions. And so what I recently did is I created an object in cases called case problems, and I started trying to copy and paste every problem that comes in, and then solution, so I can make documentation off those questions. And so I just had a question for you and the audience on any tips you had for documentation. I mean, I know obviously copy pasting and doing it, but I don't want, sometimes it can get too messy with things everywhere, and just trying to find a more smoother process in regards to building out documentation and having those questions answered quicker and that sort of stuff. So
yeah, no, that's a great question. Before I give my take on this and my answer, does anybody else have any thoughts on this before I jump in? Okay. So my first thought here is that I know that Salesforce has some of that functionality out of the box, right? So as far as like the knowledge management, case solutions, be able to, create a solution record and then link cases to it. Have you explored any of that functionality?
Yes. So we've been writing docs in knowledge. I don't think I have it activated yet to the point where when they ask the question, the knowledge article just pops up, because we have so much documentation already written out and I'm still new in my role. So I don't know if there's already been a document written out for this question. And sometimes, the end user isn't formatting or asking the question that might be the right solution or the right way to ask that question. And so that can cause confusion on not knowing that, oh, it's this document we have out of the 100 documents we have written or whatever. So
Yeah.
I guess the point is that trying to save time and not have to, dig for either if there's an article or not knowing if this is a solution or, a problem we can identify. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's definitely an issue that a lot of companies face, right? As far as, well, just speaking from my own perspective, we have support documentation that's kind of spread everywhere, right? We have some stuff that's on our website. We have other stuff that we have in Google Docs. We have stuff lately that we're putting in Quip. So it's kind of all over the place. So, that first use case is trying to like get everything in one place. And then eventually it sounds like you want to be able to, once you have that documentation or the solutions in place, you want to essentially hook that up to chatbots so that they can get recommended solutions right from that chatbot.
Yes.
Okay. In complete transparency, I don't think that I'm the best resource for that. But what I can offer is that I can try to put you in touch with somebody who might be able to shed more light on that. And taking that a step further, having somebody that can kind of speak to the chatbots and integration in the Service Cloud. There's somebody that works with this. We could try to schedule that as a workshop for one of these upcoming sessions, if that would help.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So what I'm going to do is let me just write this down before I forget this. So schedule chatbots and Service Cloud. All right, I'll clean that up later, but that's enough. Yeah. Definitely one of those things I think a lot of companies have issues with. And I think that could be one that a lot of folks on this call could take advantage of if we have somebody that could speak to that. Is anybody right now using chatbots? Yeah, it's one of those things.
Hi, my name is Michael. I don't use Salesforce now. I use what's called Zoho, but the way we set up our chat box is through tags. So you could tag documents with multiple different types of tags, and then in the chat bot, if you put in that key term, that tag, everything that's been tagged will come up, in one quick search. I don't know if that helps with the situation, Taylor.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't. That's a good idea. Appreciate that, Michael. I haven't because it's still a giant process in terms of the just getting everything set up, and the last thing obviously is automation. So the chat bot will be set up last, but I'm taking note of that though. What you said, tags. But
Taylor, are you categorizing your questions? I mean, because I just finished the Einstein chatbot trailhead thing over, and they're talking a lot about categorizing your issues so that as the chatbot's talking to you, you're asking, do you have issues with an order? Do you have issues with this, that, whatever? And you have 10, 15 different categories for them to pick from, and it just kind of whittles it down through the automation. Are you doing that yet?
No, not yet. I'm still trying to identify our biggest problems, which I've found. I think the most common problem is, how to reset your password. I think most people experience that, but no, I haven't done that trailer, any of that yet.
Yeah, I think
that trailer, I think it's really neat to watch and go through. And I learned a whole ton and got super excited about it because you can walk right through it and learn how to do a chat bot relatively quickly. And then there's on YouTube, there's a couple different ones where a person did the trailhead and then went out and did a proof of concept and was able to do it in a half an hour, 45 minutes. So I think if you haven't done the Einstein bot trailhead yet, I would highly recommend doing that, and it'll help you kind of figure out, along with Mike's comment, how to organize it in your brain so that when people come in, again, you're going to have typically 10 type categories or less that most of your issues are going to be in, that you're going to have your knowledge base based on, and then it can kind of just filter down that way.
So Anthony, you wouldn't happen to have a link to that trailhead module that I could put in here, would you?
I will stick it in here as we're going through stuff.
Appreciate that. And Mike, quick question for you. You said that you're doing chatbots outside of the Salesforce platform. What was the name of that app that you mentioned?
It's called Zoho. It's a low-cost provider, quite honestly.
ZOHO.
Yes, ZOHO.
Gotcha.
It's a Salesforce wannabe, quite honestly. I know it well. I've implemented it, but the standard is Salesforce. I'd like to learn a little bit more so that I can implement it in some new opportunities.
Yeah, I'll take a look at that. It's always good to see how other apps are doing it as well. All right, so my main takeaway here is try to find somebody that might be able to answer that question in a little bit more detail or that has implemented this. And then I think doing a workshop on Einstein chatbots. I have never touched them, so I think that would be a good one to kind of go through and learn. It sounds like there's some interest here as well. So I'll try to get that scheduled for an upcoming session. All right, so Taylor, I hope that I answered your question. We'll try to get you some other resources, but anything else that you wanted to add there before we move on?
Yeah, I mean, that pretty much answers it. I guess the main takeaway is that, if you're if you're an admin out there and, you're just dealing with daily questions, what's the action you can take to, kind of tone that noise down, so to speak, and create, going forward where you have less and less questions because you're able to categorize and start to identify, even though not every question, is worded the exact same, but it might, many times it might mean the same, resolution. So
yeah, it sounds like chatbots and everything that we're talking about, where you can kind of whittle them down to get them to the help article that they might need. That might be the first step. Yeah, I definitely think that this could be a useful one for us to go through in a couple weeks here. All right, cool. So I will look into that. Looking to get somebody scheduled for that. But I guess we'll open it up then. Any other questions then, whether on chatbots or otherwise? Lizelle, I see your hand up.
Thanks. I have this use case that I just need to kind of talk over with you guys. If you guys have experience working with parent account, basically my intention of using parent account is my parent account would be all physicians. And then the account associated with that physician/parent account would be hospitals in regards to where they can do procedures at. So I'm thinking, and then I would just kind of set it up in regards to access as a private sharing model via role hierarchy. So users will only be able to access physician records, hospital records, if they are if they're the account owner or they're their boss type deal. I was just wondering, is that like the right way I should go about this?
Quick question. So you said you have essentially for account records, you're going to have hospitals kind of at the top level. You're going to have doctors, and then like the doctors are going to be essentially assigned to the hospitals that they're able to work in or do procedures in, right?
Yes.
Are you using person accounts?
I am using person accounts, and we have Health Cloud too. So I'm just trying to wrap my head implementing it, and I'm like, oh, they're very touchy in regards to data access and sales reps and everything like that. Sales reps can only see records in which, they're their account owner type thing. And I'm like, how do I solve this? And then once they pick a physician in like a case, they only want to see hospitals that are associated with that physician. So I figured, I feel like I'm just going down a rabbit hole, and I only have so many licenses, so I can't really log in as a user and kind of see what they're seeing because I'm just implementing this I'm going in phases in regards to implementing this. So
yeah. Yeah, so I guess a couple clarifying things. Well, again, before I kind of give my opinion, is anybody super familiar with Health Cloud or has implemented something similar in the past? Okay. So I guess the clarifying question I would ask, I guess I would assume that one doctor can potentially be working for multiple hospitals or being able to do procedures at multiple hospitals, right? Or is it that?
Yes.
Okay, so they can do multiple. How do you currently then, how are you linking that, essentially that doctor person account to the account record, the hospital record? Are you doing it through like related contacts? Or are you doing it through like a lookup field directly to the hospital?
I am just testing things out right now. So right now I have like a physician record type, and then I have a hospital record type, and then physician is going to be my parents essentially once I link them to a hospital. And then so that's kind of how I'm envisioning it, or this is what I'm like demoing, but I'm like thinking of like the permissioning of things. Like some doctors also are able to work at the same hospitals other doctors are able to work out of. So I'm like, okay, I feel like I'm just going down an issue when it comes to that, because other reps would essentially, be assigned, different positions. And like, how does that work with my structure in like account owner for the hospital? Because that won't carry over for another physician, like, sorry,
Yeah. So I guess when I kind of think about this, the data model that you have to kind of worry about, you said you have hospitals, physicians, and then what was the thing underneath the physicians?
And then that would be cases, but that kind of carries over with the physicians. I don't think I have to worry about that. My main thing is, I guess the data model, like that is like driving me crazy, because I'm thinking of my scenarios that I need to build out. And I'm like, oh, this doesn't work with just the role hierarchy, because there's overlap with hospitals. And the owner. So I'm like, how do people solve for this?
Yeah, I'm curious. I've never done this, and I'm not too familiar with with the healthcare cloud or health cloud. But I wonder if you can address this with something like territory management, because you can have there is a world where you can have an account potentially in multiple territories. Something like that. The other thing that kind of comes to mind is you can't have a lookup, like you can't have a lookup field from the physician to the hospital, because it can only have one value. And if they're working in multiple hospitals, you got to do something like a junction object that can basically let them work in multiple places. Out of the box, when you think about like accounts and contacts, you have that concept of like a related contact where they can basically be part of multiple account records. So if they're working in 3 hospitals, you have that related contacts where you can basically create that relationship there. So they could be part of multiple records. Now, getting all of that to align from a data model perspective, and then also handling the security piece of it, that would definitely be something we'd have to do a deep dive into to see how that would work. But territory management, that might get you close, just for the fact that, accounts can be in multiple territories. You can manage the security that way, as far as assigning people, that are, well, I guess I should ask you this. From the security, is it at the hospital level that the users are going to be there, like hospital administrator, or?
It's going to be off of the physician, whoever the physician basically allowing users to create a case. They have their physician, they input like Dr. Smith, and Dr. Smith is associated with 10 hospitals. So from that, they basically want sales reps. When they click Dr. Smith, they only have that list of 10 hospitals to choose from. So they're not mixing cases, because when we do that, we also send supplies to that said facility. So if they put Dr. Smith for a hospital that he's not associated with, then that'll kind of come across issues. I guess it's really just planning out the data model then.
So when you say when they're creating the case, and you want to make sure that if they're selecting a doctor, you want to make sure they can only select, the hospitals that doctor is affiliated with. That sounds less like a security thing and more of just from the UI perspective. If they select a doctor, you only want to show the hospitals related to that doctor, right? Because if they selected a different doctor that had access to other hospitals, you would want to show those hospitals, right? So I'm almost wondering, like, when they're creating the case, is this something that they're doing through the Salesforce UI?
They're using another application. They're using a third-party application for this. So I'm migrating iTracer, another platform inventory management, and bringing it into Salesforce. So this is just.
Yeah, the reason why I say that is because, I could see this as like like even a screen-based flow where they select the doctor first. When they go to the next screen, you're going to basically get the hospital records associated to that doctor, and just display those in the next pick list, and so on. You know what I mean? Like essentially walk them through the process. So less about security, less about role hierarchy, and more about when you select a doctor, it's going to grab the appropriate hospital records for that doctor.
And that would be done via flow.
You could, that can definitely be done through a screen-based flow. I can even, if if you guys don't mind, maybe we'll just take 2 seconds here and I'll show you an example of what that might look like. Or if you like, we can schedule a time offline and walk through it in detail.
Either or, whatever works best for everyone else. If anyone else had
Yeah.
any questions,
All right, let's just we'll grab 5 minutes on this one and just see if we can do this. So, and keep in mind, I have not done this before in this environment, and this could completely blow up. So just bear with me. All right, so I am in a trailhead playground, brand new playground, and I'm going to. You guys can hear me, right? I'm hearing kind of feedback. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into an account record just to make sure I have some test data here. So this is in a playground. So we have Burlington Textiles, and we have Jack Rogers has been related to this. What I want to do, let's see. I believe we have to set this up where we can associate multiple or contact to multiple accounts. And I can't remember where to do that. Let's see if we can find that. Contact roles, social accounts. Let's see, account settings. Yeah, so essentially we need to turn this on so that we can associate contacts to multiple accounts. So allow users to relate a contact to multiple accounts. So I'm going to edit this. And this is where I want to double check them in my playground and not like one of my customer orgs. There we go. So sure, that looks good. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my account object, and I'm going to add, there's a special related list here. So I'm going to go to my page layouts, my account layout, and we're going to add on this related list for related, not content, related contacts. Okay, I'm going to throw that up there. All right, and we're going to save that. So now, in theory, when I go back to this Burlington Textiles here, give this a quick refresh, you'll see we have related contacts, and Jack Rogers is a part of this account. Now, if I were to go to another account record, let's just say that we go to Edge Communications, under related contacts, I'm going to add Jack in here as well. And I don't want to do it that way. I want to add relationship, and we're going to add a relationship for Jack. All right, so Jack Rogers. All right, I'll even give him a role here. All right, so Jack Rogers now, if we looked at Jack's record, you're going to see that he's associated to multiple account records now. All right, so I'm going to very quickly edit the contact object, add that related accounts list in here as well. So contact layout and related lists, and there should be a related accounts related list here. All right, so we'll add that in there. So when we look at Jack and caching and everything else aside, if I refresh this, we should now have those 2 related account records. All right. So that's the first part of it, basically allowing you to create a contact that's related to multiple accounts. In other words, a physician that might be related to multiple hospitals, right? So when we think of the automation part of this now, if we wanted to create a case and we were going to walk the user through that, we might do that again with a flow. And I'll create a new flow. And this will be a screen-based flow. I'll move you guys all out of the way here. So screen-based flow, free form. And let's just say that on our first screen, this is going to be, select doctor. All right. And just to keep things consistent, I always try to make these like put what it is just to keep things straight. And then we're going to have a lookup. All right. So this is going to be doctor lookup. And this is where it gets a little wonky here. So this is going to be API, the lookup field on the source object. So this is going to be contact. The label is going to be doctor. The object is going to be case, because that's essentially what we're trying to create here is a case record. And yeah, we're going to say this is required. Let's see. And I think I got the API name of our field. So is it contact ID? Let's see. So we go to the case object. What is that contact lookup field? Let's see. One of these has to be a lookup, right? Lookup to contact. contact ID. All right, so contact ID. Okay, there we go. Search contacts. All right, so without doing anything else, I'm going to click done here. We'll connect that to our start. And again, if I move you all to the bottom of my screen so I can actually see. There we go. If we save this, we'll call this create a case for a doctor as our flow. And just for fun, we'll activate that and then run. Okay, so the first thing that we did, all we did was added a lookup for the contact record. All right, so in this case, if I look for Jack, I can select Jack Rogers, and there we go. Okay, so that's the first part. Now this is the tricky part, right? So the next, after they click next, after they select the contact, we are going to do a get. And again, this is the part where this might all come crashing down. But let's just say get accounts related to this contact. All right, I want to get all, where would this be? This would be accounts. Actually, this would be, there's a relationship. So it's account, something another, related accounts or something in that name. Contact. There's a specific, yeah, here we go. Account contact relationship. So I want to get all account contact relationships where the contact ID is equal to whatever they selected in that first step. All right, we want to get all records. All right, and that should do it. So done. So we get all relationships. And then as far as the next step here, like selecting one of them, let's just, again, I'm not 100% familiar, but let's see if we can fumble our way. So let's call this screen, select a hospital. Okay. And then I'm going to add in here a lookup. Now, like I said, this is the part where I got to kind of remember how we're going to do this. Basically, we want to show them a list of whatever we got in that last step. And that would be display dependent pick lists, checkbox, address. Let's see. Yeah, so how would we display just the account IDs or the account records from that previous step? Fritz. All right, let's think about this. So we get the contacts, we get all the account related hospitals, and then essentially we want to display a list of each one of those. Like I said, this is definitely one we got to think through here a little bit, but dependent pick list. Yeah, it wouldn't be this here because we want it to be dependent on that previous step. We could do it as a pick list where essentially we only show the values. Well, let's see. I don't really know if we can do this or not, but let's see. So pick list, component type, choices, radio buttons. Could we do a choice set based on the records that we just found? Let's see. And again, Lizelle, this might be one that we have to schedule a time and go through this in more detail, but I'm just going to see if I can figure this out here. So record choice set would be found hospitals. Then the object is going to be account. Okay, we want to give it criteria now. So, okay, so I think we're getting close here. So essentially, we want to show the choices are going to be all the accounts, and then we just got to get this criteria right here. The only challenge is I don't think that we can do something like where the account ID is in something else that we have. So we basically have to figure out what this criteria is going to be, and we can't do it based on contacts because obviously the contact, there's that separate list here. So yeah, So if I have to kind of think through this, what we might have to do is create essentially for the accounts that are related to that contact that we selected, essentially build a list, and we want to say where the ID is in that list. So that might be one way to do it. So let me give that a shot here. So I'm going to say, I'm just going to put anything in here, just hit done. All right, so we'll say the choice label is going to be the name of the account. We'll say the data type is going to be text, and the choice value is going to be ID. So let's see if we can do that. So how would we get from the get that we did here? So basically we have a list of account IDs, and now we want to be able to get accounts related to that account ID. So ID is in, let's see. Yeah, so I think this is going to be the hardest part, is finding where the ID is in something else. This contains the account ID. Yeah, I think, you know what, I'm gonna have to give this one some thought, but I think it's definitely doable within a flow. But instead of you guys watching me all fumble around here, this is definitely one I can take as homework, and then I can share with the group later. But essentially, if you can have them select the contact record, find all the accounts related that contact record is related to, and then display those as a choice set. I think walking them through, and then the final step after they've made all those selections would be to create the case record for them. I think that would be the way to go. It's just that one piece there that I have to give it some additional thought. And like I said, instead of you guys spending a half an hour watching me fumble around, I'm more than happy to fumble around for half an hour. But you know, like I said, I can take this one as homework, and then I can report back on this one, how you might do it.
This was super helpful. Thank you, Bill, for the food for thought. I wasn't even thinking flow. I was just thinking like it's my permissioning and architecture. No, but that totally makes sense. So thank you. And I guess I have a flow to work on.
Yeah, no, and like I said, if you want to schedule some time to go through that, I would be happy to do that. I guess the other thing. Okay, so all right, I don't know if this is going to be doable, but again, just to maybe I'll fumble around for just literally 2 more minutes here. The only other thing that I was thinking of is that record choice set that we were creating here. If we call this like account contact rels, whatever, right? And then the object, instead of looking for accounts, if we just got the account contact relationship directly, and then we said where the contact ID is equal to whatever they selected on their lookup. And then for the choices, this is where you can't really get to the account name here, but you can get the account ID just to see what this would look like. So if that was our choice set, and then we threw that onto a screen. Let's see. So this is account IDs that we found. So we put a choice set here. Let's see, pick list. Okay, so this is hospitals. Data type text. Okay. Again, I have no idea if this is going to work, but let's just see. So if I were to, let's just save this here. And then if we did a run. So step 1, they select their doctor. This is going to be Jack. And then hit next. And then you can see Jack was related to 2 hospitals, and we have the IDs here. The only challenge then is to try to figure out how to get to the account name from here. So I think it's doable, but we'd have to kind of figure that out, go through that and figure that out. All right. So like I said, I can take that as a homework item.
That was beautiful. Thank you, Bill.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd use beautiful. If I give you a full solution, I would say that's beautiful. But yes, I think it should get you close. All right. Any other thoughts on this? Or any other questions on this? And again, this is where it gets kind of kind of hairy, but let me just see here. The only other thing that I might say, account me see if this is doable, and then I'll share the screen here. Okay, yeah. So I think this might be the final piece of what we were missing here. So what I'm doing here, I went to Account Manager, and if we look at Account Contact Relationship, that object here, if we just create a new formula field and call this Account Name as text, and then we just say this is equal to the account name, we should easily be able to pull this into our flow. And I just saw somebody else join. Let me just let them in here. Okay, so if we use that then as our label for that second drop down, that might get us closer to what we needed here. So I'm going to save this as, so we don't lose anything. I'm going to refresh my screen. And then if we go into here, if we go into this guy right here for our label, instead of using account ID, we should have that account name field that I just created and done. So now if we run this, Jack Rogers, do I have to save? Maybe that was where I went wrong here. So let's save that. Okay, let's try to run that now. Jack. And there you go. And now they can select the name of the hospital. All right. Now, admittedly, that was the ugliest demonstration I might have ever given with stopping and starting shares and going back and forth and kind of thinking out loud. But I think the lesson, if there's any beneficial lesson to learn from this, is that sometimes you don't really have to know everything. Is kind of fumbling through and trying to figure it out. So I think that this is a good example of fumbling around and figuring it out. All right. So, but that might get you close. Give them a flow, screen-based flow that they can walk through. And then, like I said, the final step, once you go through that whole thing, is having them select their, or create that case record for them. And then if you believe everything that we saw at Dreamforce, you can embed this flow into Slack, and there you go. So, all right. Hope that was helpful. I would love to hear the final result if you go all the way through and get that to work. That'd be cool. All right. Any other questions that I can embarrass myself and fumble through today?
I got one if Tommy's not still on the phone or still here. I think there's Tommy was ahead of me, but is he still here?
I don't see a Tommy on the call. No.
So my question is kind of flow related to, I think, I have a Rotary Club that I'm a member of, and I would like to be able to do email marketing to potential people that are going to go to Rotary, but I want to be able to take an Excel spreadsheet that has the speakers that are coming up and say, hey, hope you can make it this Tuesday. Our speaker for this week is so-and-so. And then have that automatically flow every week and have that person change, that variable change. But I don't know if that's possible or not. Trying to figure out a way to do it automation wise. And I didn't know if I could link an Excel spreadsheet somewhere in the Salesforce and then use those fields, speaker fields, as a way to fill in for the email documentation.
Let me say that back to you, and then we'll open it up if anybody's done this before. So essentially, you have a spreadsheet that's got a list of like dates, the speaker name, what they're going to be covering, whatever it is, right? And you want some automation that every week it's going to grab that spreadsheet, grab the appropriate date, and then send out an email that's got all that content pre-filled in, like our speaker this week is, grab the speaker column. He's going to be talking about this. That's on the, the topic column. I've never done this, but if you could figure it out, I would love to do it for office hours, because that would save me some time with Pardot, templates and everything else. But has anybody done anything like this before? Essentially have like maybe take a step back. Even if it was just like a table that you had in Salesforce, because I think getting a spreadsheet into Salesforce as a custom object, that I could see as being the easy part. But has anybody done anything like this or similar to this in the past? Yeah, that's a tough one. Who's going to be the recipients that you're sending this email out to? Is it like you have a bunch of contact records or something?
Not a bunch. We have right now we have about 10 people that are thinking about coming to our Rotary Club, and I just want to be able to, I can send out obviously automation with, hey, don't forget this Tuesday is Rotary, come join us. But that doesn't really get people excited about, who the speaker is and why they might want to come listen.
Yeah.
And so I can do it manually, but when I do it manually, I tend to forget. And then I don't send it out. So if I can automate it and use marketing flows and stuff and have it just go, that would make a lot of sense. And it could be a lot of value to all of the other companies I'm trying to work with.
All right. So I would like you to take this with several grains of salt. Okay. One theory that you might be able to do something like this. I don't know about a Google Sheet or an Excel doc, but let's just say that you had a custom object in Salesforce called upcoming speakers, right? And you had a date column in there. You had who the speaker is. And then let's just say you put like a text area field that included like whatever that blurb is about what they're going to be talking about, right? So you fill that in. Now you can imagine a world where you create a scheduled flow that you let run every Tuesday. And as part of that scheduled flow, the first thing it does is query that custom object and find any records where the speaker date is equal to, today's date plus 3 or whatever that Friday is or Saturday, if you have it like on the same day every week, right? So essentially you query the record, you find the one that you care about, and then you, in that scheduled flow, you have an action, like send an email action, that would basically do some concatenating, have your standard kind of beginning, like your intro, have your standard, bottom, and then you concatenate that custom blurb from the record that you found, and then have that send out an email. Again, that's completely an in theory option that you might be able to do, but I could see how using a scheduled flow, that would get to the part where that kind of automates the email sending for you. And then having that custom table where you can just manage the dates that the speakers are coming up, and then, whatever you want to put as far as the blurb. Now, you can also imagine a world where even if you have multiple speakers, you can think about a scheduled flow where you can have a loop where if you found more than one record, you can loop through them and almost make like a little table within that email template that you're building, and then send that all out once it loops through all of them. Definitely, I think there's something there, but you'd kind of have to play with that. And like I said, that could definitely be one that we can go through in more detail. I feel like I've embarrassed myself enough today. I don't know if we want to go through that one, but
I've got a comment also on that same thing. You may want to look at Zapier, ZAPIER.com. It's a other automation tool. I use it in the past for like email marketing forms, but I think I'm not sure that's true or not, but there's a lot of Google integration. I wouldn't be surprised if they had a way to hook into a Google spreadsheet and then take that data and put it into a custom object. I wouldn't doubt they had that in Zapier.
Thank you.
yeah. Scheduled flow. So selfishly, I'm going to look into this idea just because I don't know why I never thought about that, but yeah, scheduled flow and just have an email. I guess there might be some limitations of the number of emails you can send through flow that you have to consider. But yeah, that might be an option. I'll have to play with that one. And Zapier, yeah, definitely that's a great one if you wanted to get the data from a spreadsheet into Salesforce. You can look at that. Mike, I think I saw your hand up. Yeah.
A quick question for you, Anthony. Are you using Club Runner with Rotary?
We are not currently, but if it makes life easier, I would be more than happy to switch to Club Runner. Right now, we're just using
WordPress.
Yeah, WordPress.
Okay, even better. Club Runner is terrible. But do you have a calendar on WordPress?
Yes.
I'd have to imagine that there's some sort of integration between that calendar and Salesforce where it can send out a scheduled email based on the content on that day. If it's all going out to the same set of people, or even growing on that set of people as they visit your website, you probably have a form filled with people who are interested. I would probably start there, and you're putting it in once on your WordPress side, and then have that integrate through to all things Salesforce. And I'm sorry, I know CRMs. I'm not that good with Salesforce, which is kind of why I'm here, but I know that can be done. And Zapier is also another great app that can certainly help assist that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Has anybody integrated anything with WordPress with Salesforce in the past? You're in the middle
I
of.
did, but I had to write custom web calls in PHP, which was not fun.
Okay. Okay.
I'm not doing
Yeah,
that
we're-
again.
We're in the middle of a website redesign, and that's one of the things we were looking at, like as far as CMS and other kind of integrations. Besides just having a par form exist within a WordPress site, but
Strategy and product.
yeah. Okay. So Anthony, I think as far as once you get it in the Salesforce part, automating that email being blasted out, my gut tells me scheduled flows might get you close, but yeah, I'll try to dig into that a little bit more, and I can let you know what to find.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or anything else you guys want to walk through?
I have one question.
Sure.
My name is Pratik. Currently, I'm working on one of the org where there's lots of permission set. Right now, I have to work with the file object. Now, file is kind of tricky, right? So I want to see, is there any shortcut way to see which permission set have modified all data permission rather than going each and every profile to see who have that permission set check mark? Is there any way you can query or anything if anyone have done that?
I think the tooling API has that, if I'm not mistaken.
Which one? Which one?
The tooling API.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure that has permission sets in there. You can test it out from Workbench. Have you ever used Workbench?
No.
So it's workbench.salesforce.com. It's an app that one of our employees wrote, but it's not supported. And you can call the REST API. I'm sorry, the tooling API from inside there as well and test it out.
So Jeff, if I share my screen logged into Workbench right now, would you be able to kind of walk me through how to do that?
And maybe able to. Let's see. So if you go to utilities and you've got REST Explorer, if you hit execute right there on the right hand side, it should give you the rest of the API. So you have tooling. So the very top one's tooling. And at that point, you can you probably need to start digging into the tooling API documentation and find out which endpoints you need to use for the permission sets. It's probably going to be the query ones, my guess. You can query permission sets. That's my guess. You have to put the query in though. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
it'd be like question mark Q equals then the query you want to run. But let's like find it real quick. Tooling.
Yeah, Jeff, while you're looking at that, the other solution that you might want to look at, there's definitely an App Exchange partner that does that, and they changed names recently. Let me see if I can pull that up here. Now it's going to escape me here, but there's basically you can migrate changes from environment to environment. They also have a lot of functionality for figuring out like who has permissions or comparing permissions and things like that. Let me see if I can find the name here.
I'll put the link to the tooling API documentation in the chat for permission sets. I found it's right there. That may get you started. But if you just query like tooling API and permission sets, you'll find a bunch of stuff on there.
Okay. Yeah, I know there's an app that can do this as well, but I cannot think of the name right now. Like I said, they changed names since I used it last. I can't remember. Is anybody else on this as far as like analysis of permissions and things like that? Like any kind of tools that you've leveraged in the past for this? All right, I'm gonna have to dig that up. If that was Pratik that asked that question, right?
Yes.
Okay, if you want to message me privately in the chat, shoot me your email address. If I find that that app, I can definitely share it, or I'll even just put it in the notes from this call.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and tooling API, that's another one that I have to dig into in more detail to figure out how we might do that.
The tooling API is awesome. We use tooling API probably 75% of the time on Trailhead. That's what we use. It's got all kinds of stuff in there. And the good thing about it's REST based as opposed to the ones that are SOAP based.
All right.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Bill.
Yeah, like I said, I think there's an app. Let me just try one last thing here. So if I do profile, compare. Profiles, permission sets. No, it's not. Permission helper. Permission process converter, profile permission to converter. Oh, here you go. Here, there's a Salesforce Labs. Here, let me share this here. Maybe this could be helpful. So there's an app called Permission Helper. I'm looking at Permission Analyzer and Permission Report. The only thing is, now that I've clicked on it, here we go. So simplify permission process. Permission Analyzer. List of profiles, permission sets that contain it. Is that kind of what you're looking for?
Permission to view the list of profiles.
So analyze by permission to view the list of profiles and permission sets that contain it.
Yes.
You can also analyze by user. Yeah, so maybe Salesforce Labs Permission Helper.
Okay. Yeah.
Ignore the horrible rating for right now. So you give it a try. But
okay. Yes. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, and if I find that other tool, I'll let you know too.
Okay.
All right. So okay. Any other questions or anything else you guys want to walk through? Given my poor performance today, I might not share the recording today. I have to do some heavy edits and post.
I have a question. Sorry, Bill.
No, go,
I have a follow-up question to Jeff. He mentioned about two bases. One is REST. The other one, I didn't really quite get the name. And what are the differences?
Was it the tooling API?
Yeah, when you just show us, load up the web bench, and then you go on the two, and then you mentioned two bases. One is the REST, and the other one, I didn't quite get the name, and I don't know the differences.
REST and SOAP. Was it SOAP?
Oh, I think that's it.
Yeah. I would, if you're going to do some work, I would try to always use the REST based one. It's easy to program with because the code, the data you get back, you send and you get back is human readable, and it's much more loosely affiliated. With SOAP, you get back huge XML strings and it's almost incomprehensible. And it's much harder work because you've got a contract. You have to send this format and you have to receive this format. It's typically used a lot for integration. ISVs and companies that make products for Salesforce, they'll typically use the SOAP API, but most developers will use the REST API because SOAP's just a pain in the butt to work with.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff. All right. Any other questions? I feel like I have a lot of homework from this call. Okay. All right. So a couple of the takeaways that I have here, definitely want to go through the tooling API and see how I might actually be able to leverage that as part of my kind of day-to-day. Because I always thought when I hear tooling API, I kind of think of folks building continuous integration tools or things like that, but never as far as like analysis as part of an admin, like how do I find out who all has this permission? So I'll definitely take a look at that and I can share that with you guys in a future call. The talking about that scheduled flow. So basically having a scheduled flow that can automatically send out an email notification, to a group of, recipients about scheduled events that are upcoming. I'm going to give that one a whirl as well. And then I also have one here to actually clean up that example, Lizelle, that we walked through. So make it a little bit more clean and actually kind of an end-to-end solution that I can share with the team as well. But other than that, the last one that I had here was scheduling somebody that can come and actually speak about Einstein chatbots and walk us through a workshop on those. Anything that I missed there that we discussed that were homework wise here?
Bill, there's a question on the chat about code review.
I am seeing, okay, yeah, thank you. So I'm seeing about code review in many roles. What exactly is it? Any thoughts on it? Code review, so is that kind of, when we say code review, are we talking about like developers working together, or are we talking more of like Salesforce security review?
So is it doing based on a developer console or how it works actually?
Yeah, I guess just to clarify the question a little bit. So when you say code review, you mean like working with other developers, or when you're submitting an app like for review to Salesforce?
So currently I'm looking for roles. So yeah, in many requirements I see code review. So I don't know what exactly it means.
Okay. Well, I guess one way that, or one thing that that can mean is, when you're working within a group of developers or in a team of developers, there's the concept of like pair programming or, code reviews within, the development team. So as you're writing code and, you basically build out some kind of logic, handing that off to somebody else to make sure that it follows all the best practices, that there's no security vulnerabilities that are being introduced as part of that code. So essentially less about writing the code versus being able to follow along somebody else's code that they've written and basically identify best practices or issues that they might have introduced. Now, as a development team of one, I mean, I review my own code, but I don't really have a good story to tell about it. But does anybody else work with code reviews or anything you
I
might be
can
able to
talk
speak
about that. Probably that's what we do all day long. So typically when you work in Salesforce, you develop a feature in a Scratch org, and then you'll push that code to GitHub and you'll commit a pull request. A pull request is to merge your code into the main branch, which will go into your integration org. So essentially you'll have someone that you can ask for a code review to look at your code and make sure you didn't forget something, that you use best practices, a lot of the stuff that you're just talking about. And that's typically nowadays done in GitHub. So it's a very asynchronous, innovative approach. I'll push code to the repo in GitHub. My teammate will come and look at it and say, hey, you forgot this here. Did you think about doing this here? And then we'll go back and forth with that. I can make any changes and then push the code back up to GitHub. And once they review it and approve it, then it gets committed into the main development branch, and then it gets pushed into the integration or the testing org through some kind of automated process like Circle CI or Jenkins or something like that. So code reviews are quite a bit of work. I mean, I'm working on a code review right now with my other teammate we're just talking about. So do a lot of code reviews.
Okay, thank you for that, Jeff. So does it happen manually or using any DevOps tool?
No, it's all manual. So I will push the changes for my code in my repo up to GitHub. And actually, I can show it to you. Let me show you what it looks like if you want to do that. Would that help?
Yeah, sure.
Is that okay, Bill? So I did that real quick?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, sure.
Okay. See, how do I do?
Should be able to just click the share button there.
Share
and
screen,
then
there it is.
choose which one to share.
Yeah, sorry, got it. I guess I'm desktop 2. I don't know. Oh, I got a grant privilege. Sorry. It wants me to grant privilege to see it. Okay. Let's see. Zoom. Okay, there we go. So now I can. Oh, I got to quit. Sorry. We're back.
Yeah, I was going to say, if he's on a Mac, you grant permissions, you have to drop off and rejoin before it'll let you actually share your screen. So we'll give Jeff a few seconds to join here. Pavarthi, as far as GitHub is concerned, though, when you say is it manual or is there any kind of automation there? When you actually submit changes and they go through for a code review, it'll actually highlight what the changes are. So what did it look like before? What does it look like now? And actually show you those changes. And I'm thinking that's what Jeff was going to show you here now that he's joined back here.
Got it. Yep, here I go. I'm back. So you guys see my screen here with the big zoom on there?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the code that I'm working on one of my teammates right here. So you'll see it has there's a pull request. This is just standard GitHub functionality, nothing about Salesforce at all. So I'll push up some new code changes that I'm working on. I'll give a description of what this pull request is for. And we have a ticketing system where you can track the details of each ticket here. And then Joe comes in here and he actually comments on my code. He said, hey, not sure it's a great name. Let's try a different name, blah, 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 blah. And he can actually look at different parts of my code and make specific comments about certain lines of code. And then I can run all kinds of things, all the commits that I've made throughout the last couple of days. And we have a number of automated tests that run. We have something called Code Climate that makes sure we're all adhering to the best practices of coding standards. We have integration testing, so we make sure our unit tests run successfully. We have some more code climate stuff. We do licensing, make sure we're using the right licenses and like that. And then once everything passes and he's approved the code, you can actually merge the pull requests, and that'll merge your code into the main branch. So that's probably what they're talking about with a code review. Is that right there?
Yeah, thank you. So I wonder what is the skill set needed here?
It's essentially knowing how the code works. Just, if it's Apex code, you know Apex best practices, how to write triggers, how to write classes, stuff like that, visual force pages, lighting components. It's how to write those kind of assets, and then being able to talk about, hey, the naming convention's off here, or hey, in another part of the code, we're using this method. We should probably use this method also. So it's kind of just knowing your code base and be able to work with it and giving feedback on it.
Thank you for that, Jeff.
It's kind of like an editor, I would say. You're kind of like making sure everybody's doing the right kind of thing. So,
do you want to get all your whites?
Sorry? Oh.
All right.
Quick question. Who is the guy asking about permissions earlier? I came in late, but might want to contact you offline. If somebody.
Yeah, that was me.
Permission problem.
Pratik.
Was who?
Pratik.
Pratik. Okay, thanks.
Yep. All right, guys. Well, we're a few minutes over. I appreciate you watching me fumble around building flows today. So if you guys have any other questions, let me know. Otherwise, hope to see you next week for Own Backup and Mac Entity. All right. See you guys. Enjoy your day. Enjoy your weekend.
Appreciate everything, Bill. Thank you.